These teachings of the Living Light philosophy were given through the mediumship of Mr. Richard P. Goodwin. Spiritual Awareness Class, CC2.
41 in the Living Light that it does mention numbers. And there are certain pieces, so to speak, in this book that may seem to some that are missing. So at this time, I'm going to give to those who do not have it the meaning, as I understand, of numbers. If you would like to write them down, you may. I am aware, students, that there are some who prefer a longer meditation. Remember, this is only the third class, and our purpose in spiritualism is science, philosophy, and religion. If you don't have the philosophy and the understanding of the laws, how the science works, then you will remain ignorant and therefore never be free. So we must have balance between our science, our philosophy, or we will never find the religion of spiritualism. So be patient. We have 9 classes yet to go. Number 1, God. 2, duality or creation. 3, manifestation. 4, foundation. 5, faith. 6, manifested power or double manifestation. 7, psychic or invisible influence. 8, infinite security or double foundation. 9, totality.
Go over those again, please.
1, God. 2, duality or creation. 3, manifestation. 4, foundation. 5, faith. 6, manifested power or double manifestation. 7, psychic or invisible influence. 8, infinite security or double foundation. And 9, totality. The colors are red, action; yellow, divine wisdom; white, purity; light blue, spirituality; purple, understanding; pink, divine love; brown, confusion; light gray, reason; dark gray, emotion; light green, conscience; light green, conscience; dark green, human intellect; black, darkness; silver, character. Now we'll go on to our questions, beginning with how many groups we have? 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. Now, friends, it's very important. This is your third meeting. See who's in your group and stay in that group. That's very important for you. Now, if someone is sick and misses a class, we understand that. So we should keep their chair for them, because it's important to building up a rapport in your individual groups. So tonight we'll start with our questions with Group 6. So someone in Group 6 have any questions concerning the teachings or any question that comes to their mind of a spiritual nature? Yes?
You did not mention white for the color.
Purity. Gold is, we understand, to be yellow, which is divine wisdom. Any of my students know why? Any of the students know why pink is divine love? What color makes pink?
White and red. A combination of action and purity.
Exactly. Pure action is divine love, and that's why pink is divine love. Why is orange creation? What colors make orange?
Yellow and red.
What's red and yellow?
Wisdom and action.
Divine wisdom in action is creation, isn't it? You have the answers. All right, Group 6, please. Group 6 may feel free to ask their questions now. This is Group 6. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, Group 6. They said Group 6. We'll start with Group 6. Sorry, Group 7. Group 6, yes. You just stand up so that all the class can hear, please.
I'm afraid that it's a question.
Why?
Well, not really.
Fear is nothing more than faith directed in a negative way.
Well, not really. I'm not
I
afraid.
know you-
The thing is this, on this faith, humility, poise, and humility.
Yes?
What center, I see here that it talks about them being a certain center in the body, and I don't recognize this as the center. I don't remember the center.
Perhaps that is because you may confuse that faculty with another teaching. He teaches that every part of the anatomy has a color, a number, and a meaning. Faith, poise, and humility. Now, faith, poise, and humility is a faculty, a triune faculty. In the book, it says the opposite of that triune faculty is money, ego, and sex. For example, the teachings, and if you will put it to the demonstration, you'll find it's true. The teachings of the living light are not to annihilate the functions, but to bring them into balance with the soul faculties. If a person is having material money problems, that simply means that they are not expressing equal energy through the opposite or counterbalance soul faculty, which is faith.
Thank you very much.
Does that help?
Yes, I was confused with another teacher.
Yes. Yes, and he also teaches that humility, which is a soul faculty, is the counterbalance for the function of procreation.
Can you explain a little bit? It says that he who bows the will recognizes greater strength. How can you tell the difference between, like, my will and thy will?
Very simply. Because if it is my will, it is self-orientated. If it is divine will, it is selfless. It is not primarily concerned with self. You see, we understand that God is equal to our understanding. If we understand the divine power known as God to have total consideration, then if it is divine will, it is not concerned just with one individual. It has total consideration. That is a sure way of knowing whether it is my will or divine will. Our conscience, which is a spiritual sensibility with a dual capacity, knowing right from wrong, does not have to be told, dictates to us which is divine will with total consideration and which is self-will with self-consideration only. Does that help with your question? Yes, Group 6 have any more questions? Would you stand please so the class can hear you?
Yes. This is regarding another discourse that we studied some time ago, and it came across my mind. It said here on page 60, break through the barriers and layers of the mind, and you will find belief, some created recently and some of very ancient origin. Well, now it came to my mind that if things have always been, and we are just tuning into them right now, what is the difference between the beliefs of ancient origin and those of more recent origin?
Man's expression of them. Man does not have an original thought. I'm sorry to tell all of you that, but it's demonstrable. Infinite intelligence is everything. Everywhere has always been. Man simply becomes receptive through a level of awareness to what has always existed and will always exist. The only place that he may say it is original is that it is original to him. Truth has no beginning. It always was, or it could not be truth. Therefore, we simply become receptive to a level, and as receiving such, we receive what we call a thought. And we say, I just got an idea. Well, it always existed. We just got a hold of it. We became receptive to it. Then we could say, well, man nowadays, he has the airplane, he's sending his rocket ships to the moon. What does man think, that this is the first time that has ever happened? Does man think that he is the originator of the airplane or the rocket ship? The thought has ever existed. Man only became receptive to it at this time. Yes. Any other questions in group 6? You know, I understand that it is a great ego deflator to entertain the possibility that we are not original. But believe me, friends, we're not. Group 6? Yes?
What is, I know to a degree, but what is the function of numbers, the teaching of numbers in a group such as this? I mean, do these tie into the spheres? Do they tie into the cycles of life that we go through?
They most certainly do, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I meant to tell those who are not aware of how to find your birth number the simple way to find it. If, for example, you're born on the 2nd month and the 3rd day in 1930, you simply add all the numbers together, and that gives you your birth number. You may do that now if you wish. You add the month, the day, and the year. Reduce it to the smallest digit, that's your birth number. For example, the 2nd month, the 3rd day is a 5, 1930 would be 9 and 1 is 10 and 3, that's a 4. That would be an 11, which is a 2. You reduce it to the smallest digit. Everyone have their number? How many 9s do we have? How many 9s in the class? How many birth number 9s? How many people have a birth date that totals 9? There's 2. Anybody else have a 9? I'll ask the 9s, when do you feel best? When you're active and extremely busy? Or when you're not?
What's better when you're here?
Always for the 9s. We have 2. How many 5s? There's 2, there's 3. Any more fives? There's 4 fives. You have difficulty with faith? You either have difficulty with faith or you're very strong in it. One of the two. There's no in between if you're a 5. How many 4s? Lots of 4s. You're all seeking security and stability, or you already have it. How many 1s? You're either first or God is first. No in between. Well, we can't spend all night with numbers. You've already been given them, yes?
8.
Oh, 8. Infinite security. For throughout eternity, you're seeking security.
No.
You're not?
8.
That's 8.
That's 8.
Who's? I think you understand that. I think
Number 2.
that's duality, constant opposition, bound to creation.
Oh, you're a 9.
I'm a 7, serving my purpose, I hope. Yes?
6. Would you explain that, please?
What did 6 say? Didn't it say it's double manifestation or manifested power? You have great determination if you're a 6. A lot of problems with the heart. All right, now, class, we must go on. Group 6, you have any more questions? In reference to the numbers, they do reveal a certain awareness concerning the soul's incarnation. I go into that in my private classes and not publicly. Now, no more questions in Group 6? All right, now we're coming to Group 7. Group 7, have any questions, please? Yes, would you stand so they can hear?
Yes. I didn't catch the opposite to the positive faith, praise, and humility. I heard money and sex.
Money, ego, and sex.
It was ego.
Yes. Money is the counterbalance with faith. Sex, humility. Ego, poise.
I haven't written that.
Yes. There are many triune soul faculties. All soul faculties have corresponding counterbalance functions. If you're having problems with a function, you simply need to redirect the energy to its counterbalance in the soul faculty, and you will bring balance and freedom into your life.
When you're using numbers, you wish to work with numbers rather than working them.
Excuse me, I couldn't hear you. Yes, go ahead.
When you're using numbers, I would choose to use numbers using 1 as God. If I add 1 to 3, which is manifestation.
That brings you foundation.
Foundation. But isn't that rather a good way to use numbers if you use foundation with God, then you have faith?
Definitely.
And
Because, you see, our only foundation is with God or faith. 5 is faith, 1 is God, and 4 is foundation.
I wish that you would clarify 7 as occult.
Yes.
I don't always understand that.
When for example, I want to clarify that 5 again. When you have faith in God, you have faith in God. Faith is 5 and God is 1. That gives you a 6, which is your heart. That's the only place you find God. If you want foundation in God, you must have faith. Now, you want to clarify number 7, which is invisible influences. Invisible influences could also be termed subtle influences or influences that the physical world is not aware of. They are the more subtle vibrations. That is the 7.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That's Group 7. Any other questions in Group 7? No more questions in 7? Then let us go to 5, please. Group 5. Would you stand up if you have a question so the class can hear?
So you said there's 5, like you said there's ego, sex, and
Money.
Money, okay. About ego. When you balance it out, that it's balanced, that means it is good to have some pride in yourself.
It is good. Without ego, we would never bother to brush our teeth or do anything else. That is absolutely necessary in form or in creation. The teachings of the living light are not to annihilate the ego under any circumstances. Simply educate it, that it may serve the purpose of your soul's incarnation. Ego is what drives us on in creation. Ego is absolutely necessary in order that we may fulfill our soul's incarnation, the purpose of it. But if it is not educated or balanced between the functions and the faculties, if it isn't balanced, it becomes destructive, self-destructive. That means that the energy is grounded in the functions, and we're out of balance. Yes, and group 6. Would you stand up so they can hear you, please?
That leads to another question. Can the energy be balanced the other way or overbalanced the other way in the faculty?
Absolutely and positively. That's what happened to India for centuries. It doesn't have the ego drive, or it wouldn't be in starvation for centuries. It would find resources and it would feed itself. It became, what did it become? Lethargic. It accepted, this is my karma, and that's it. No longer an ego drive to better itself. So you see what happens to creation without ego, or overbalanced in the soul faculties. Does that help with your question? Yes. Group 6? Yes, just stand up so they can hear you, please.
How does one educate the ego? We do have to educate it, we know that. But how does one actually educate? We have to have this ego drive. You couldn't go to work in the morning if you didn't have it.
Absolutely.
How does one know this ego to be the God, the righteous ego, or that ego that is self?
Yes, everyone heard the question? When man recognizes that he is the instrument, this thing, the ego, is an instrument that is used by a divine infinite intelligence, that nothing belongs to this created thing. It is only like an automobile to serve the purpose of the driver, that the driver is the divine, not the self-created form. If it remembers that and recognizes that in all its thoughts, acts, and activities, it will bring education to the ego, balance to the soul's expression. Does that help with your question?
It certainly does.
All right, group 5. Did we have any questions from group 5? Yes.
I wondered, relating back to first class, I have some questions on faith as regards working within the principle of creation and as regards motivation. I feel that there is a very close tie between these. I wonder if you could elaborate.
On faith in creation.
Faith in creation as related to motivation.
As related to motivation. I'll try my best to elaborate a bit upon that. Many prophets have taught, in all you're getting, get understanding. When we get understanding, we have an expression of this power known as faith. The teachings are that faith, the faith of the smallest seed, of a mustard seed, will move the mountain. The only way that man gains faith is through understanding. What understanding brings is an awareness of how the divine truly works. When you see something work, you most certainly have faith in it. Therefore, the steps are quite simple. First, we must gain understanding. But how can we gain understanding without tolerance? How can we gain tolerance without duty? And how can we gain duty without gratitude? So we find that the first teachings of the living light are duty, gratitude, and tolerance. When duty, gratitude, and tolerance are balanced, all the energy of the divine is flowing through that first triune soul faculty. We move through understanding to faith, poise, and humility. And in so doing, we become aware. And in becoming aware, we know. We don't have to be told. And we know beyond a shadow of any doubt. And in that knowing, we see that creation is temporal, that it is guaranteed poles of opposites, that it is dual in its expression. Therefore, we separate truth, our soul, our spirit, our being, from the duality of creation. We use the vehicle like we use the car. We are no longer attached to it. We no longer depend upon it. We use it. We don't abuse it. Does that help with your question?
Very much, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions from group 5? Yes?
A definition between soul and spirit.
The question has been asked for a clarification between the word soul and spirit. We understand that soul is not spirit. It is the covering of the divine power known as spirit. When this divine power expresses through form, we call that, when it becomes individualized, that covering we understand to be soul. Individualized soul. That is the covering of the divine energy or the infinite intelligence. It is not the infinite intelligence itself. Remember that whatever we understand at this moment to be individual is constantly in the process of change. You are individualized. 10 years ago, you have an understanding of your individuality. 10 years later, your understanding of that individuality changes, because that is form is dual. It is not one, it is two. The soul, what we call soul, being individualized, has birth. That has birth has death. Therefore, the teachings of the light are very simple. Broaden your horizons. Hold not to form, for form shall pass. So, the only way we're going to have freedom, the only way we're going to find truth, and it is demonstrable, is to separate ourselves from the duality of form and creation. Use it, but do not be attached to it. If you are, you cannot progress until you're willing to make the changes. Remember that man has many gods, the gods that he creates in his own thought. And those gods are changing ever equal to his own understanding. The God of gods is a God of humbleness. It is the greatest servant ever known or ever will be, for it serves everything in creation that is receptive to it. Creation being given choice. Choice does not exist in God, for God is one. So how could choice exist? Choice exists in form, and that is the only place that choice does exist. The soul being form has choice because it has individuality. It may choose the faculties and free itself, in balance with choosing the limitation of the functions. There is no freedom in the functions. The opposite of freedom is enslavement. The functions are what enslave us. The faculties are what free us. But if we overbalance our energy, this divine energy, through the soul faculties, we will have no anchor to creation, and we will find ourselves flitting off into the void. Does that help with someone's question? Yes, will you rise, please?
I'm very, very interested. I think this was great, but when we go to spirit, do we drop the functions and live in the faculties? Do we take the functions with us, along with some of the faculties that we've developed?
I may answer your question in this way. Do you take your individuality into the world of spirit? Your individuality is form. Therefore, we take functions with us. It is the nature of mind stuff to attach. If it does not attach to something, it loses its balance. You see, man is a triune expression. He is physical, mental, and spiritual. Now, on that trinity, he may attach to one of the 3 points. He may attach to the spirit, he may attach to the mind or the intellect, or he may attach to the physical dimension known as creation. But his mind definitely and positively will attach to one of the points of the triangle in expression. As long as the spirit expresses through form, it expresses through duality. This is why the teaching is that silence is golden. Silence is divine wisdom. Does that help with your question?
To a degree.
You may ask a further question if you wish.
Is silence always wisdom?
Would you stand, please?
Yes.
The question is asked, is silence always wisdom? The answer is quite simple. Is silence 1 or 2?
According to your thinking?
Yes, is it 1 or 2? Is silence a oneness, or is it a duality? Anyone care to answer that question? Yes?
It would have to be a one.
What is it? Would you say silence is void? Would anyone care to say that silence is a void, an absence of everything? What is silence? Stillness. What is stillness?
Well, can it be a void like a nothingness?
Like a nothingness. Yes?
Many people have been silent on issues where they should have. In other words, I mean, many people, I'm judging, I don't mean to judge, but for example, many persons are silent when their word may have helped a condition or given affirmation to something. Many people are silent, but their minds are busy with negation or affirmation.
Then that is not silence. If the mind is active, it is not silent. If we are speaking of silence, not just in physical action, we're speaking of silence and stillness of the mind, which is a dual vehicle. The mind is capable of so-called good. The mind is capable of its so-called opposite, bad. Is that not true?
Yes, I agree with you.
We're speaking of the stillness, the silence of the divine. Yes, would you stand please so they can hear?
Did you say silence is golden, then silence is wisdom?
Yes, silence, we understand, is divine wisdom. Yes, group 5.
I was just whizzing through a little physics here in my mind. I think also that silence is harmony.
Yes.
Then the two, I suppose, may
Harmony is what? A total, complete balance. All things in perfect balance is harmony and silence. That is the divine. Yes, group 6.
That's not a void.
It is a void to 80 levels of awareness.
What's a void?
The question is asked, what is void? Someone care to answer it?
Vacuum. It doesn't seem like we could know what it is because we've never, it doesn't seem like I've ever experienced nothing.
Very good. Anyone else care to express on the word void? Yes.
Well, a void to me, in
Stand up so we can hear.
the
Would
way
you
that
please?
we're using it, is a void, is a stillness, a quietness, and a peace, so that you're not turning on all of these forces as it becomes quiet. To me, divine peace is golden, but of course it's just one of them.
Now, thank you. Why does man have such a difficulty in finding God? He seeks God with a dual vehicle known as mind. We will find God when this is perfectly still and there is void. Then we will find the divinity within ourselves. Otherwise, we will continue on the circle to seek God ever equal to our understanding of the moment. And those are the created gods, built from mind stuff. Think. Yes, group 6.
Excuse me, it seems that the mind becomes still, and that's the void.
That is the
God
void.
Something.
Something cannot come out of nothing. Is creation something? It did not come from naught. God is the divine sustaining power, everywhere present, never absent or away, known by the spiritualist as infinite intelligence. If intelligence is infinite, is it perfect harmony? Question. Is it?
Yeah. Well,
If intelligence is infinite, is it perfect harmony?
Yes.
It's all
oh,
encompassing.
yes. But if you say, is it, I fear that I don't feel that you can answer that. I don't think you can define that word.
Infinite intelligence. Because the moment you try to define it, you put it into duality or creation, and you've lost it. That is the void. Yes?
I just got a thought, I had a thought, and that was that I think a little light is gleaming. According to biblical teachings, there must be truth in that too. First there was a void, and then there was activity, and God said, let there be light. So then there...
Let there be light.
That's right.
And light is energy.
So first was a void, and then came light.
Definitely, absolutely, and positively, it's all in the Bible. Depends on what level you are receptive to when you're reading it.
I just got it.
Yes, group 7, please.
Doesn't there have to be an idea before there can be light?
Let me say this. The question is, doesn't there have to be an idea before there can be light? We understand the Lord to be the law. The universe is the law's meditation, and man is an idea of it. As mind is ever one in substance with the idea and the whole idea, so man and the law and the universes is one and the same. That is why we teach that man is a law unto himself. Now, the ladies asked the question, doesn't there have to be an idea before there is light? Is that not the question? No. For idea comes from light. Energy is first, and energy is one. Without energy, there is no idea. It does not exist. Yes?
Does not love come before light?
Love, light, and life is the Trinity of the divine. And the teaching is love all life and know the light. Without love, there is no life and no light. Love is the great magnet that pulls unto itself. Love is the cause of creation. And love is dual. When the divine expresses itself like the atom, it splits. And when it splits, you have creation. When the atom is split, it releases its great energy, doesn't it?
Right.
The law of physics and the law of numbers is the law of the universe, and numbers, mathematics, reveal it. Now we have to watch the time. Are there any other questions? This other group here didn't get any questions yet. Group 1, do you have a question? Group 2? Yes, Group 2, please rise.
It mentions here humility. How can we tell if we are fooling ourselves by thinking that we are very humble, when in reality we are out on an ego trip?
Well, thank you, it's a good question. When we're humble, we don't have to think about it. If we are entertaining the thought that we are humble, then we are guaranteeing an experience to bring us this humbleness that we think we have.
Thank you.
That we think we have, we guarantee to experience. Remember that we are spirit, formless and free. Whatever we think, that will we be. Man has the choice. Group 2, any other questions? Please stand. Yes.
Richard, would you define poise as it's used in this discourse?
I will try to express my understanding of poise. The teaching is faith, poise, and humility. When we express poise, we are in the law of harmony. We are in perfect balance. And when we're in perfect balance, we are very humble. No one has to tell us. We don't even have to tell ourselves. We just are. Does that help with your question?
Yes, thank you.
Group 2, please. Yes.
Yes, I'd like to ask, if I could, how is the soul faculty of humility related to healing?
Very good question. The question is asked, in what way is the soul faculty known as humility related to healing? This energy that expresses through the soul faculty of humility is identically the same energy that goes through the function known as procreation. In some teachings, it's known as pran. When this pran is directed through the soul faculty of humility, it has a great healing power, for it is the power of life herself, and that is the way that it is related, that soul faculty of humility, to healing. You're welcome. Anyone else in group 2? Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, a Buddhist monk was called up in connection myself, and I was just wondering if this monk is say present with me frequently. Is it possible that people come from certain traditions or certain lines before this life and perhaps return to that tradition after this life? I was just wondering if they live their life in consistency with that tradition, will it be more helpful to their spiritual development during their lifetime?
Yes, now that's an excellent question. I'm sure all the students heard it. Remember that man is a law unto himself, that what is beneficial to one level is not necessarily beneficial to another and could oftentimes be detrimental. Now, if an entity, Buddhist monk or otherwise, is attracted to someone here on the earth realm, then there is a similarity, a likeness of interest. And it could be beneficial to both, in this case, the Buddhist monk and the person that he has been attracted to. It could be beneficial. But remember that the individual here in the earth realm must have set some law into motion to attract the individual in the first place. The spirit in and of themselves also must have set some law into motion to gravitate to that particular person. They both could benefit. Now, if the individual spirit is bound by his own tradition, do you understand?
Bound?
If he is bound in tradition, his own traditions, then that is limitation. Being limitation, it is not progressive. Would you agree?
I agree.
Now, a person could be a Buddhist monk and yet not bound by the tradition. Do you understand? Or there could be anything else. Does that help with your question?
Yeah.
A bit. All right. Any other questions in group 2? Yes.
I'd like to ask, in Discourse 11 and 31, they speak of the all-soul. And if our guides and teachers, I'd like to know if right now are they waiting in the realm of the all-soul to be incarnated again into form? Or is it possible that they're already on different planets in different universes? How close is the time?
We will discuss that at another time. Thank you very much. We have much to get to before that. Thank you. Group 3, please. Would you please rise? Thank you.
I would like for you, if you could, to clarify 2 words for me that I'm having a little bit concept in my own head about, and that is to think and to look. What is the difference when we think about a situation
And you look at a situation?
and we look at it?
There's a vast difference in my understanding. When man looks at something, it simply reveals to him the level that his own soul is expressing on. When man thinks, and he thinks deeply, he becomes aware not only of the level he's expressing on at any given moment, but he becomes aware of all of his levels without identifying with any of them in a permanent or attached way. You can look at a book and have no understanding at all. Is that not correct? You must think about it.
What about a situation when you're confronted with something, a situation with somebody, say?
Would you please rise so they can hear you? Thank you.
So let's say you go home and you think over the situation or circumstance that involves 2 people.
Yes? You are entertaining them in thought. or you couldn't be even thinking about them?
Oh, I guess what I'm trying to go over this idea that I've had with another person. Their idea of looking at it, confronting it, and looking at it, and then dealing with it brings an awareness of what the situation was about.
There's no awareness without thought. Awareness does not exist without thought.
Richard,
Yes.
are you speaking of objective awareness? Of looking at something, looking at it from afar, looking it up, looking at it.
Right, yes. As though, as you see yourself with that other person, as how you were dealing with each other at that time.
I believe you're talking about the same thing.
Madam, if you put yourself into a situation, you're in personality. And if you're in personality, no matter who we are, we cannot be in principle at the same time because they're opposites. We place ourselves in personality with one reason and one reason alone: to understand and learn tolerance. There is no other good purpose for placing our soul in personality. Yes, would you rise, please?
Is using the faculty of reason, when you think, you are using the faculty of reason, you're reasoning.
If you're thinking deeply.
You're thinking deeply. You're using, but it's a faculty.
It's a soul faculty, absolutely.
When you're thinking about a thing, when people say, I think this and that, they're expressing opinions. But when you are thinking of something, you're working something out. You're reasoning.
Yes, you're using reason.
That's what I was...
Absolutely. Definitely. That lady, please, in group 3, would you rise? You see, you understand that you are confused.
Yes, I understand.
Now, that is very important because there's a law that I am very grateful that it was brought to my awareness a number of years ago. Never leave a person worse than you found them. So we can't finish class until there's some kind of clarification over your confusion, because you see it's kind of brown. You understand? But at least there's understanding of the state of awareness. Now, you are trying to help 2 other people. You are not?
I am one of that other person.
You're trying to help them, yourself and another person.
No.
You're not trying to help them.
No.
Why?
I think they were trying to help me.
They're trying to help you.
About the fact that they felt that think and to look were that to look at something was really where it's at, and thinking. Well, I just.
Well, no, seriously, you have accepted that. You see, that troubles you, doesn't it?
I guess it does. Yeah.
You see, there's a teaching that says that troubles us controls us. But there is a better way. If something is not beneficial to us, we have a divine birthright to choose to release it to a divine power. Is it beneficial to entertain that level of awareness?
I don't think so. No, it isn't really that important.
Don't you understand, madam, that you cannot find the answer outside of yourself? Confusion is a total grounding in one's own vibration. And we cannot come out of confusion until we become receptive to a different level. Now, we can look in the dictionary and find out what the word look means, and we can look in the dictionary and find out what the word thinking means. But it will not release that troubles you. Would you not agree?
I'm starting to understand something. That seems to clarify that. Figuring out the answer in my head now. It's like they want to look at it and they're satisfied with that word to look, then let them do it. If I want to think that, then I like that word, I'll think that.
Now that is awareness. Don't you feel better? I'm so grateful because I didn't want to take it home with me. I have enough to do. Thank you very, very much, Group 3. Now you're free, and you freed yourself. Because you decided you would no longer be controlled by some word. Remember, the only thing that has power over us is that which we give power to. If you give power to a certain person and what they've said to you, then you're controlled by it and enslaved by it. But you have choice. You can say, thank you, God, you gave me a right to think for myself. A lot of people do not agree with me or with the understanding that I have received. I recognize and fully accept their divine birthright to disagree. And I also expect the same right for myself because I'm willing to give that right to another. Give them the right of their expression and demand the same right for yourself. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions now before we finish class? Because the hour's getting late. Yes, Group 7, please.
Could you please clarify for me the difference between the brain and the mind?
Yes, it is my understanding that the brain is a vehicle through which the mind expresses itself in this dimension. Now, the brain is composed from the elements of nature. It brings with us, when it is created from those elements, all that those elements contain. For example, everything that has existed in creation, in these elements, is composed, it is in our brain, because these elements are from nature right down there, all those cells and everything. Now, it is given birth, and that is given birth has guaranteed a death. The mind is not something that is given birth. Thought eternally exists. It is not given birth. This is why I said earlier this class, I believe, that man originates nothing. He becomes receptive to anything. The brain, when our awareness is expressing through the created brain, which is termed uneducated ego and is also termed king brain, there is no awareness of our own eternal spirit. The brain is what denies our divinity. It is only the brain that does that to us. The brain brings us limitation. When the brain computes that it originates this or that it is doing that, by that very law of thinking that way in the brain, it absolutely guarantees its need. It is our brain that has need. It is not our spirit. It is not our soul. It is not our true mind, but it is the brain. When the brain computes need, it guarantees all of the experiences necessary to fulfill the need. For example, if the brain computes that it has a need for love, and love is something we already have and are constantly expressing, but if it computes that it has a need for love, it guarantees every experience for that brain to receive it. Now, for example, if a human being says, I need love, in the brain is all of the experiences from the moment the soul entered form. It has all the experiences of how it got love. Do you understand? When the brain, once again, maybe at age 50, has this feeling it needs love, It has to go through all of those experiences that it has computed in the brain to gain love again. Now, if a child is permitted to receive love by expressing its anger or its temper, when the child becomes an adult, it will go through the same pattern to receive love once again. That's the brain. The mind, the infinite intelligence expressing through mind, it doesn't have to go through all those stupid experiences because it knows it already has it. You see, the moment that we become in rapport with what we think we need, the sadness is the brain says, I need this and I need that. The mind knows it already has it. The moment we express through the brain the truth that we have what the brain thought we needed, we immediately come into rapport with a vibratory wave of that particular thing, and we experience it. That is my understanding of the difference between brain and mind. Does that help with your question?
Thank you.
You're welcome. The brain is limited. The mind, the spirit, and the soul is aware of its limitlessness. The brain is not and cannot be.
All things have brains.
All creation has brains. Everything has a brain. Maybe a little one, the size of a peanut or a flea, or maybe a big one, you say. That depends on what the soul has merited, you say.
If it's created, it has to die.
Sure, the brain goes back, everything goes back to its source. Brain back to the elements of nature from which it was composed. Mind to mind, spirit to spirit, and soul to soul. And that's why Emerson teaches the soul returns to the all soul. And the old man teaches it comes out anew.